Welcome to Seize the Mains Daily Answer Writing Initiative by Malhotra's IS Academy. I'm Surbhi Sardana and I'm taking this lecture series on writing good answers for UPSC Civil Services Mains and State Civil Services Mains. If you are new to this initiative, let me tell you that this is the second season of Seize the Mains. We discuss answer writing here, and the special part about this initiative is that you can write your answers and send them to us to get them evaluated entirely free of cost by our experts. So since this is season 2, you can download the schedule till 3rd of May, that is 1 month before prelims, from the description below. Today is day 30 and the topic for today is from GS paper 2. It is about comparison of the Indian constitutional scheme with that of other countries. It's from UPSC syllabus GS paper 2. So we've already discussed a similar topic before. If you go to day 2 discussion, that was about the Constitution of India. So that concerned around comparing Constitution of India and USA. We had to discuss the basic tenets of constitutions of both the polities. So I recommend that you watch that discussion as well. And for today, we are not taking explicitly a comparison of Indian constitution with some other country's constitution. We are just taking a general concept of secularism and how secularism in India is different from secularism in the West. So that is the constitutional concept that we are taking for today. Apart from this, make sure that you prepare constitutions of USA, United Kingdom and Japan, and a little bit differences from Russia as well, because that is in news very much in detail. USA and UK are of prime importance, so you will see a lot of questions from these two areas with regards to constitution in your mains paper. Beginning with today's question. So before displaying the question, let me tell you that I recommend that you keep a pen and a paper handy with you so that you can note down the points that come to your mind about the concept that will be asked in the question. And let's start building answer for it. The concept of secularism is a Western implant on Indian soil. Do you agree? Justify your answer. Answer in 150 words for 10 marks. So this is a direct statement from your NCERT of class 11, that is political theory. So the concept of secularism is a Western implant on Indian soil. What does that mean? That it has been taken from Western nations, and India was not secular, or there was no concept of secularism prevailing in India. So do you agree? And if you agree, or if whether you disagree, you will have to justify your answer with examples or with facts or proof, whatever you have. So the first thing here is that you have to take a stand. The examiner is directly asking you that do you agree with this or not. So you will have to explicitly mention that I agree with this point of view, or I disagree with this point of view. So you will have to take a stand and you will have to justify with whatever information you have there. Let's start this answer by building a good introduction. And as I always say, an introduction is a conversation with the examiner, just like you talk to a friend and you you read the preface of a book or the index of a book. An introduction is just like that. You have to lightly talk about what is given in the question and use your knowledge, points from your knowledge, to elaborate on what has been asked in the question. Whatever are the keywords should be made clear, should be defined, or should be made clear in the introduction itself. So first of all, the concept of secularism. So in the introduction here, in this introduction, we'll talk about what secularism is and what is the stand or status of India as regards to secularism. So since this is a polity answer, we'll be including amendments, judgments or articles, whatever we know from the constitution that concern secularism. So defining secularism, what is secularism? Secularism is the principle that determines the relationship between government and the religion. It plays an important role in a diverse country like India. So in diverse countries, secularism plays a great role. In Western nations, it had a different role to play, but when diversity is there, it has a key role to play. So we'll see that further, how the roles are different and how like Western concept is different from the Indian concept. Till here, see, the first line gives the definition of secularism. The second line gives a light importance of secularism. And the third line, as you will see, we talk about the 42nd amendment here, through which the word secular was added to the preamble of a constitution. The third line gives the status of secularism in India with respect to polity, because this is a polity question, so you will have to answer with respect to polity. So we've talked about 42nd amendment to the constitution in the last line, that is with respect to India. So this is a very good introduction. It nicely sums up whatever has been asked in the question. It clarifies everything. So now let's move on to the linkage point. What is a linkage point? As I tell you again and again, linkage point is one or two lines that create a bridge between your introduction and your body paragraph. So it can be a line after introduction in one line or with the introduction, but it gives a stand, it gives a direction to your answer. Which direction do you want to take? So as we have read in our NCERTs and polity textbooks that secularism in India has prevailed from ancient times. We have so many religions, no other country has so many religions, and we have accommodated all religions, all new and old religions and subsects of those religions or communities within the religions very happily, and we are a very diverse society. So secularism is not a concept that we have imported from the West, or Western nations came here to implant this concept in India. No. So according to our team, our stand is, and according to NCERT, the stand is that no, secularism is not a Western implant. Plus, when you are asked about any concepts of constitution, make sure that you talk in favor of what is prevalent in India, or in favor of the constitutional concepts of India. So it's better if you take a stand against the statement that no, we do not agree. As it is written here, it is disagreed that secularism is a Western implant on Indian soil, and since they've asked us to justify, the following reasons would justify this stand. So this is your linkage point. It gives a clarity to the examiner that how are you going to address this question. So here we have given two reasons that why we think that secularism is not a Western implant on Indian soil. First thing, because it has existed, secularism as a concept has existed in India since time immemorial. The inclusion of word secular in the constitution could be inspired from constitutions of the West, but as a concept, India has always been secular even before independence. So our society has always been secular, apart from the few violent incidences that have taken place in the past. Apart from that, we are a very secular society. So this is not a new concept, it is an ancient concept in India. The second one is that how can you import something when the living concept of secularism that we have in India is entirely or majorly different from what they have in the West. So if two things are very much different, how can they be a copy of each other, or how can one thing be taken from each other? So the second point is that there are many theoretical and operational differences in the Western and Indian model of secularism. Hence, the model of secularism that we have in India, the concept of secularism, is not a Western implant. So these two are the points, these two are the important points that we'll be discussing. We'll be defining them in detail. Since this is a 150 words question, you can make a flowchart kind of a thing here, note down point here, point 1 here and point 2 here, and then give sub points to whatever is coming ahead, or just write down in full sentences after this flowchart. So moving on, let's see what is the first point, that secularism is an ancient concept in India. Let's define this one first. So this is a very easy concept to define, that Indian people have embraced all religions, all incoming, outgoing religions. We've embraced Parsism. There is a history to the incoming of Parsis to India from Iran. So we welcome them with open hands. We've included Islam, Christianity, Jainism, Buddhism, which erupted on Indian soil. So India is a very secular country by its existence. So secularism is first and foremost a doctrine that opposes all forms of interreligious domination. It was due to this concept of secularism, which was there in Indian culture for ages, that India embraced different religions such as Islam, Christianity, etc. at different points in time. So this is not something very tough to talk about. You just have to say that it has the secularism as a concept existed in India before even it was known to the rest of the world. So this is it, and in this first line we have given the definition of Indian secularism. inter-religious domination should not be there. So that is about the first point. The second point is about the theoretical and operational differences. This is one of the most important points. UPSC has already asked this question in some other form, in the form of that what are the differences, or bring out the differences between the concept of Indian secularism versus Western secularism, or how is Indian secularism different from Western concept of secularism. So this is a very important point. The entire NCERT chapter on secularism talks about this, that how is it different. So we'll use our knowledge of this point to expand this answer to talk about what are the differences, and there will be sub points in this answer, this part. So yeah, starting from here there will be sub points. So what you can do is either draw a flow chart, or take keywords from each point and then elaborate on them, or draw a schematic in some other form. So talking about the second part, that is theoretical and operational differences in Indian and Western secularism. So the Western model of secularism talks about mutual exclusion, that state and religion have a very strongly held wall between them, while in India this wall is porous in nature. As you can see in this representation also, this is the US model and this is the French model. These two talk about an arm length distance or a total separation between state and religion, while Indian model talks about a porous wall of separation. Don't worry about this diagram, you can download the PDF of this presentation after this lecture from the link in the description below, so don't worry about it. It's just to explain you that Western concept talks about mutual exclusion, while Indian concept is neutral towards religion and it intervenes in times of need. So what are those needs, we'll see further. So reading this out for you, according to Western secularism, which is mostly inspired by American model, all religious institutions and organizations are distinct from the operation of the state, that is mutual exclusion. This is the key word here. The state will not intervene in the affairs of religion, and in the same manner religion will not interfere in the affairs of the state. If you go back to the times of Renaissance and Enlightenment, you will get clues that why this concept of secularism is prevalent in the Western countries, because there was a lot of dominance of church in the political affairs of the functioning of nations. So they came out with a very strong wall between religion and state, that there will be a boundary between the political affairs and the religious affairs, and religion and state will not interfere in each other's boundaries, they'll work separately. While in India we did not have or we did not need any such revolution, and religion has always existed to transform us into a better society. Whenever there were problems with religion, the religion transformed itself, there were subsects emerging, there were new religions coming, so that was happening, and that kind of rigid wall was never required. In fact, every religion continued to admit all its backdrops and continued to change it with time. So however, secularism in India means that the state is neutral to all religious groups but not necessarily separate. So this is about the first point. Moving to the second sub point of this theoretical and operational differences between both the nations. This is the second point is about negative and positive concept of secularism. It is an extension of the first point. In your NCERT books also and in UPSC previous papers also, this what is negative secularism and what is positive secularism. Basically whatever happens in the West, whatever secularism is going on in the West, that is entailed as negative secularism, and in the East, in India, what we have is termed as positive secularism, because the state does intervene in the religion in times of need, when we have to restore equality, when we have to fight discrimination in the society, whether it is happening between amongst religions, inter-religions, or intra-religion within the same religion. So that is there. So whatever is happening in the West, that is out of control of the government, that the government does not, the state does not interfere in areas of religion. So that is a negative concept that cannot be turn the religion into a progressive thing. The religion works on its own. But in India, we keep a check on all the practices of all religions, and if they are against human rights, the courts, the government does intervene from time to time to maintain equality in the society. So in the Western nations embody a negative concept of secularism, that is strict separation between religion and state, but India embodies a positive concept of secularism, that is equal respect to all religions or equal protection of all religions. Sarv Dharm Sambhav. It is not sambhav. Sambhav stands for possible. It is sambhav, that all religions give the same meaning and all religions can peacefully exist together. So equal respect to all religions, that is what Indian secularism is about. The third point here is that in Western societies, Western concept of Western model of secularism, the state cannot aid any religious institutions. But in India, we have like cultural and educational rights for the minorities. So the state can give financial support. So the state cannot aid any religious institution in Western societies. It cannot give financial support to educational institutions run by religious communities. However, in India, the state can aid educational institutions run by minorities. Go to the fundamental rights section for prelims and read this part, like the cultural and educational rights very much in detail, because they are asked time and again by UPSC in prelims and there are a lot of confusing questions asked from those articles. So make sure that you go back and read them. So the drawback of Western secularism is that whatever the church or whatever the religion is doing, the state cannot intervene in that, and there are many negative practices also, many forms of discrimination also that are carried out from time to time. But in India, our aim is to establish an equitable society, a just order in our society. So the state does intervene if it finds that any religious practice is retrograde in nature. So for example, we've seen this in the times of abolition of untouchability or allowing intercaste marriages, or restraining child marriages, or if you see that in the recent case of some temples in South India or Central India, women were not allowed in some kind of temples, or in the a few decades ago, people from a certain caste were not allowed in certain kinds of religious institutions. So that has been done away with to establish a constitutional order of equality in the society. So according to Western, so that is a weakness of Western model of secularism. That is why we call it a negative concept of secularism, that the state cannot do anything with what the religion is doing. So according to Western model of secularism, the state cannot hinder the activities of religious communities as long as they are within the broad limits set by the law of the land. For example, if a particular religion forbids the entry of some of its members in the sanctum of its temple, then the state has no option but to let the matter rest exactly where it is. So this is your content exactly from NCERT book. So this is very authentic and relevant content. You should directly use it. There are many more examples for this point. There are 2-3 examples in the NCERT book. Go back, read chapter 8, secularism of political theory, that is 11th class NCERT, and add your own examples or anything that you find in the Google News column, and add those examples to boost the content for this topic. So in India, state supported religious reform is possible. For example, abolition of untouchability, allowing of intercaste marriages, banning child marriage, etc. The state can maintain religious neutrality and can eliminate evils of religion via legislation. So the state has a neutral stand also, but it can fight against the evils in the society. So in India, this is the concept that we have, that both things go on parallelly, both things go on side by side. So in Western nations, no public policy can solely be based on religion, as religion is completely a private matter. But in India, the government frequently frames policies having a religious basis. For example, like the constitution of Waqf boards that are there, read about them in detail, and there are many more policies from a religious perspective also, especially when these religious journeys are concerned. So a lot of policies are formed keeping the benefit of a particular religious community in mind, while that does not happen in the Western nations. So secularism in India is a slow walk of state and religion hand in hand. So that is how it works in India, while it is entirely different paths, perpendicular paths in terms of Western nations. So coming to the conclusion, we've given 2 points and then we've given sub points of the second point, as you can see here. 2 points, and now in the conclusion again you should sum up whatever you have written and you should justify it by paraphrasing either the points that you have written or talking about what has been given in the question. Justify it in your words. The body paragraph will contain a lot of facts or whatever the knowledge that you've gained over time, but your introduction and conclusion, at least one of them, should contain your viewpoint. So that should be talking about things in your words. So again, starting with a separate definition of secularism, the essence of secularism lies in accommodation of varied social groups and in overcoming tendencies that disrupt the social fabric of any society. So this is what is the essence of secularism. And why are we giving this definition here? Because the essence of secularism has always been prevalent in India, and this essence of secularism is something that we talk about when we talk about constitutional secularism in India. So the definition of secularism that we have put in the constitution, there is no definition, but the essence of secularism we understand in India is this. So preventing tendencies that destruct the social fabric of any society, that is what we know about secularism in India. So Indian secularism is it is a beautiful mixture of whatever the things were happening before independence and whatever has been imported from the West. So it is a very beautiful mixture of both the things, the essence of the value system we had before about Sarv Dharm Sambhav and the values we have imported from the West. So that is an intermixture. Indian secularism took on a distinct form as a result of an interaction between what already existed in a society that had religious diversity and the ideas that came from the West. So it resulted in equal focus on inter-religious and intra-religious domination. See, talking about this word, this is very important, that Indian secularism is it talks about a porous wall between religion and state. So this is state and this is religion, and this is a porous wall. While in West, it is a strong wall between state and religion. First thing is this. Second point is talking about intra-religious and inter-religious domination, or ensuring equality within the framework of religion. For example, if we have caste system, we are fighting against that also, and that is intra-religious domination. And while we have religious minorities, the government is coming up with many policies for the upliftment of minorities with a very small population also. So inter-religious domination, that is also being fought. So this is the keyword when you talk about Indian secularism. So the secular character of Indian state has adopted a very sophisticated policy in pursuit of religious equality. This allows it either to disengage with religion in American style in times of need, or to engage with religion if required. So this is entirely from NCERT, again from it, and it is a very beautiful statement. Make sure that you use it in your exam. And finally, summing up, hence Indian secularism is a much broader concept which has aided in fighting the inter and intra-religious oppression, the discrimination against women, things like that, and ensuring rights. So we have completely justified that, not only because we disagreed that Indian secularism is not an implant of Western concept. First thing, we've justified it that yes, it is not. Our concept is very much broad. And we've also talked about how it helps us, how it is different, and how it helps us to move forward as a society. So this was the complete answer. Again, I'm referring here that go back and read about this topic. This is a very important topic. Go back and read from it, like NCERT class 11, political theory, chapter 8 on secularism. Read about in detail, go back to your textbooks, see whatever are the concepts in Western secularism, if in case you want to add something from your side, and what are the recent examples that you can take from here. There have been so many Supreme Court judgments, and there have been so many times when religious authorities have opposed the intervention of state, the government or the courts in their conduct, in their religious conduct. So what is your stand on that? How can you put that in your examples, or if you are encountered with an ethics case study, what is the fodder that you have for your exam? So go back and work hard for that. Email your answers in the next 24 hours, that is by 9 p.m. of 23rd March. We are honored to check all your answers and to give you the feedback. We are very soon moving this initiative to our website, so things will become very simpler for you and you will be able to see the answers given by other aspirants also. Wishing you all the best, keep working hard, balance your preparation between prelims and mains, and see you with another discussion tomorrow. Download the PDF for this discussion from the link in the description below.